Hi, everybody. Good evening. Thank you so much for joining us. I hope all of you are safe. And if you are in Mumbai, I hope you are dry and warm too. I'm Sanjana Chauhan. And thank you to everybody, the attendees who are slowly trickling in on Facebook and on Zoom, for joining us for our very first edition of Speak Easy, where we discuss practically everything from by and for the perspective of women. So before we start, just want to let you know that this is it's not going to be a monologue. It's not going to be a shouty debate. It's not going to be bashing of any sorts. And please bear with me because my allergies seem to be acting up at all the wrong times. So it's Murphy's law in play. So feel free to ask your questions. There's a Q&A section right below, or depending on what kind of format your Zoom has. And you can also watch this from our Facebook group that's called Speak Easy. And Shan has shared it, I've shared it, Liz has shared it, Gulnar has also shared it. So without wasting much time, let's get right into it. As we all know, the pandemic, the lockdown, the coronavirus has negatively impacted all of us. Now, it's safe to say it has touched each life. So purely as a physical illness, the coronavirus appears to affect women less severely. But the pandemic, the work from home, the isolation, the lockdown has deeply, severely, brutally, and disproportionately impacted women. So let me just give you some alarming figures that I've actually pulled up when I've been reading through. So before the pandemic, women were doing 3 times as much unpaid care and domestic work as men globally. But with the onset of COVID, obviously we predicted that those inequalities would intensify, and they did. So as per research that has been conducted by UN Women in 18 countries, all of them are showing that women are indeed, in fact, taking on a lot more responsibility for household chores and care of children and family during the pandemic. And all of this while also attempting to not lose their mind, try to get ahead in their career, and definitely at the same time ensure that their children have an education. So today, what we're going to do is we're not going to constantly harp on the problems, but we're trying to understand the solutions here, which is why we have the panel that we do today, which is extremely stellar and very, very diverse. We're going to understand how companies, how employees, how you and me can be more gender inclusive and truly understand the struggle our women co-workers, our women counterparts, our women employees go through. So let me quickly introduce my panel this evening. I have Liz D'Souza, founder of Lizlin Careers and also founding member and brain behind Speak Easy. Shan Khanna, entrepreneur and founder of Networking Now. Amtosh Singh, the director of Crop Shop 24, and Gulnar Virk, awareness coach and entrepreneur. Gulnar, straight to you. You're the chosen one because not only are you an entrepreneur, but also a mother of a 4-year-old. So in your case, perhaps, thankfully, I know in your case, many fathers will undoubtedly step up, but that won't be universal. So do you see this with women around you? And more importantly, since largely in heterosexual relationships, women are more likely to be the lower earners, meaning their jobs then are considered a lower priority when disruptions like this come along.
Okay, so firstly, before the lockdown started, it was just the 3 of us with our husky living in an apartment. And the minute lockdown hit us, apart from because my husband's an actor, so his schedules were always on a long-term basis, and he would literally disappear for a month or 40 days. 30 to 40 days is usually the time span. And my dad is an army man, so I have been used to men not being around and seeing women be in charge. However, the way even those days mothers would only be there for nurturing. So it wasn't like they had another company to run. So I didn't realize the workload for home as well, because earlier it used to be just at the back of your head that, okay, maybe your mother-in-law or your mom is going to take care of it, and you continue doing your job and you are handling your baby with your playtime and school is there. So you had a lot of different, avenues where you had that support. And even, of course, parental support coming from the father. With the entire lockdown situation, what happened was that work with a toddler at home and with extra home responsibilities, because we did not have any staff. So we are all in India, especially, we're so dependent on our maids that, you know, we would actually expect them to take care of the kitchen. Then you start kind of departmentalizing who's doing the cleaning, who's doing the cooking. So with a lot of my mommy friends that I had, we started exchanging notes to just manage children. There were these 2-3 moms that I was not even in touch with for the entire lockdown period of about 2 months. And I realized poor ladies were doing the cleaning, cooking, and managing kids. And it was, a lot of them, in fact, got laid off as well because of the timelines that they could not keep up. And that's when I realized that, you know, it is these women who also need that support, because men are not going to do that much that, you know, yes, we expect them to take care of the kid, but how much can we expect them to actually go to the kitchen and cook every day? So a lot of them are not going to do it. It can probably be a weekend activity. So I've not heard of a single father who was, you know, at home in the kitchen. In fact, I have a pregnant friend as well. And I actually asked her, I said, listen, if you're managing the cleaning and the cooking, what is he doing? So she said, he's working. So I said, okay, fair enough, but you're pregnant here as well, you know, so where in this, in fact, so speaking of the whole awareness coaching part and the healing modalities we took up, I think there were a lot of prayers that started off with women-centric groups that we were forming just so the husbands could act up. And there was a 70-year-old lady who actually shared her experience, the fact that her husband has started doing the dishes towards the end of the 3rd month. So, you know, there are men who I guess would step up. And also when you speak of the household work, I mean everything. I mean, go and clean your dishes, sweep the floor if you have to, cook that dish. Or if you're taking care of your child, multitask, because men are not known to multitask like that. So I think in 3 months, if I'm able to, you know, get my stats right, because this was personal experiences, I think in the first 3 months, everyone kind of realized the workload, and that respect started coming in. And for the cases that there was no respect, I think the energy and the non-dependence on men per se got them to like kind of get up and do the job.
Right. You know, Gulnar, like I said, obviously there is, of course, in your case where the fathers and the men in the house are undoubtedly stepping up, but that's unfortunately not universal. Because,
not true.
You know,
yeah.
and I'm really glad that you raised this bit about you know, the expectation for also these elaborate meals to be put on the table. Because Shan, there is a report that in fact one of our attendees happened to send to me that has been conducted by Pink Ladder. It's a report by this Bengaluru-based startup. They essentially work on gender diversity in companies. Now, they did a study and they show that more than 40% of women, particularly women entrepreneurs, are experiencing high stress. 75%, these are staggering numbers. 75% believe they will be working longer hours. There's anxiety, there's stress, and there's also something which Gulnar rightly raised called the double burden syndrome. You know, not only do you have this, there's also the expectation that nahi, I want 3 meals on the table, and those 3 meals need to be like outstanding. You know, it's not just lockdown cooking that everybody is doing. So, Shan, besides empathy, you know, and a whole lot of it that's needed, what do you think are the things that women entrepreneurs absolutely must have either in this lockdown or then coming out of it?
You know, Gulnar, you made some great points as well. I was just, you know, the other day I did an interview with a coach, a life coach, and she was telling me, she said that, you know, I'm not used to having, I work from home. And she's like, I'm not used to having my husband at home, my children at home, and we all work in different schedules. And so imagine she's a working woman. She's finding it difficult. Can you imagine a housewife? She's used to everyone leaving her space by 8:30 in the morning after just doing probably breakfast. And now she's stuck with everyone at home. And that, you know, a lot of housewives are actually talking about how high stress it is for them. Like you said, putting 3 meals on the table. But I also think, like, with what this life coach said was a very nice thing. She said for the first month, there was so much anxiety and everyone in my family started fighting because it was like, I want my kids and my husband, we all should eat every meal together. I will put this, you know, one day Mexican, one day Indian, one day this. She's like, after the first month, she said when my husband was on a call and he said, I can't join. She said, I noticed he did it one day, he did it second day, third day. And she's like, but I used to just start fuming. Why can't you join me? And he said, but now I'm not there the rest of the year. So, you know, so she's like, I realized I was putting unrealistic expectations just because we were all at home together. So I think that's one thing is go about your day as your own. Secondly, I've noticed with women, we have a tendency to want to take control of the home. I think somewhere we need to let go. And to tell you the truth, I have very close friends who are recently married, I would say 5 or 6 couples, living alone, no help at home, and they've managed extremely well. They've done a 50-50, husbands cooked one day, husbands cleaned one day, some with children, no nanny, no help, looked after the child, done everything. In fact, one of my closest friends' wife worked for Twitter, and he would take 2 days off his own work and work from home so that she could make it to office and be with the child. So I think that there are two perspectives. But if you ask me what women, what they really need to go in a time like this, it's going to be tough. I think even for women who started their own businesses, not easy because you're at home and you want to manage the house. I think that's more, even if your husband, like Gulnar said, some husbands just don't do it. They just don't take that step. Men of the house just don't take that step. But I think have less expectations, number one. And I think there's a way to lead by example. So don't do it just because he's not doing it. Show him that he needs to do it. And I think that today times are changing. And I truly believe that this lockdown has taught a lot of husbands also and people with no children, but like everything is 50-50. And you really have to help, whether it's with your wife's business, whether it's with cooking, whether it's with even just cleaning the house, because a lot of us didn't have staff during this time. So according to me, I'm positive and I really think times are changing.
Yeah, that is actually a refreshing perspective. In terms of the way I am, I'm like extremely sensitive and always really positive. Liz, you're the HR expert here, and this is something that's disconcerting also, because going forward, or whether this already exists, is a stigma perhaps that, have you ever experienced, and you can speak candidly here, about companies that already have a stigma when it comes to hiring women employees. And also we're definitely no strangers to the fact that women make up a large percentage of health and social care workers, professions whose representatives are increasingly at the front line. So do you see that changing, or do you see that perhaps getting worse?
The whole gender gap in employment has been there way before COVID, right? I don't really think, but obviously COVID has made it more difficult for women in general to get jobs, because I feel like they have to balance out, with Gulnar and Shan talking about not only their personal experiences, but people that they've been talking to, where you have to balance it out. Like a lot of women don't have the choice. You have to wake up in the morning, where probably they woke up at 7, now they're probably waking up at 6, because everyone's at home and everyone wants, nashta at one time, and everyone wants different type of nashta. I know that a lot of men, when they go out to work, they may, sort out maybe their tea in their office or something, whatever happens, whatever cafeterias they have. But now that's not happening. So now they have to cook all this extra food. So I don't think that it was non-existent before COVID in terms of like women, people being a little bit averse to hiring women in general. But I think with COVID, that's sort of come out more, where obviously women are not able to do everything and have a full-time job. I've heard from a lot of my clients where they have issues with, we all have WhatsApp groups now where a lot of work happens. And I feel like sometimes women may not be able to respond, immediately like they were before when they were at office, so they didn't have anything else going on. While as now they do have all these other chores that need to happen because there's no help. And, Gulnar spotted it really well that you can expect, especially, and I don't think this is something about India, or I'm not even going to say like internationally men are better or anything. I think it just comes down to, just how they've been, it's just conditioned, right? If it's something that they've never been told to do, like, go and wash your own dish, it's just like, my mom's going to do it, or my wife's going to do it, or it will get done. And I don't really fully blame them as well. It's, it's both sides. So I don't feel like it's because of COVID, but yeah, to answer the question, there's always been that sort of hesitation when you're hiring women in general, not only because of the fact that they probably can't balance out things, but also the fact that they may get married soon or may have babies. And then obviously priority is, taking care of their kids. And can't blame them for that, right? Dare you not give attention to your child, then you're just a bad mother. That's another thing. So I don't know. Is there any winning? I don't know. But I, and this is where I think this is very important to me and Sanjana to bring out these conversations, because I feel like there are two ways. But also Sanjana saying that there are some companies that we know who are beautifully managing this by putting in excellent policies. One of the companies we all talk about worldwide is Google and Facebook, and the facilities that they provide to all their employees. Obviously, women with the whole, daycare services and stuff like that. But that's happening. That's happening in India as well now. A lot of companies are, providing daycare services for their women employees. They are providing them with flexible working hours, so they can balance out, home and work. And I think it really depends on how they're setting up their offices. So I think that's very important.
So, Amtosh, do you think that perhaps, while we're constantly talking about, how this has been disproportionately harder, do you think that perhaps the lockdown and the coronavirus and the pandemic is a good time to reshape, these traditional gender norms that we're looking at? And maybe it's time for us to relook gender diversity through a new lens, have new policies, create support systems. Have you done any of that in your company recently? Are you implementing any kind of changes or have already put those things in place?
I think firstly, before I answer your question, I feel like sitting here on a panel filled with women who I am aware of, and I know that you guys do really good work and I have respect for each of your work. I feel defensive at times when you talk about men as a general gender thing, because I'd like to think that I'm not that kind of a person. At the same time, I feel ashamed that men who have been conditioned and use conditioning as an excuse to be the way they are and sit, excuse my French, but their ass down on the sofa and expect their chai, pani, nashta brought to them, while the woman now very often is working as well. I think it's highly unfair. So it's shameful that with the information available to us and how much it's becoming important about equality, and how it's becoming very clear that women, if they weren't conditioned to be the way they were through these years, would probably be ruling the world. It's sad and I'm ashamed about that. But anyway, coming back to your question, I think culture in a company comes from the top down. And for one, I am a single parent son. I've been brought up by my mom. Utmost respect for women. So when I set up my company, it was always with, an equal balance of men and women. And Liz does a lot of my hiring. I've never asked her for a specific gender unless it's, for like a labor intensive role at the warehouse or things like that, where I actually need a man who will be able to lift cartons and things like that. And other than that, as far as things like issues that women may face that men don't face, as a company grows, it's important for you to have women in senior positions who are sounding boards for you. So for example, I have Liz, who's my HR consultant. I have my business head. I have my merchandise head. All of them are women. So they are good sounding boards for me. And you shape company culture and policies as you grow to different stages, from being 5 employees to being 10 employees to being 50, 70, 80 employees, with the help of people whose opinion you can take and respect, and sort of shape the culture, not through a man's point of view, but through an inclusive point of view, taking women into consideration as well. So yeah, we've always been quite open about flexible working hours, coming in a bit late if you have some kind of responsibility at home, or taking some time off during the day. Our priority has always been getting the work done. And that's a culture that existed in the company even before the lockdown. And because we had that culture, it's benefited us greatly during the lockdown, because we don't have to micromanage people and worry about them clocking in at 11 and clocking out at 7 or whatever it is. They clock in between 11, 12, 12:30 sometimes. They have to get their work done. That's the understanding between the manager and the team, and that's about it.
Okay, Amtosh, just a follow-up question to that, because what I also saw is that prior to the pandemic, supporting and catalyzing, maybe Shan can also jump in on this later, women entrepreneurship was something that was in fact gaining traction across organizations, across investment firms. There was investing with a gender lens. It was becoming part of a mainstream conversation. But obviously now everything has shifted to immediate relief in the crisis. So
Right.
that has taken a backseat. Would you agree with something like that? Do you see that in in the other organizations that you know of, or just generally among your peers?
I feel like people are slowly realizing, people are at different levels of realizing now that obviously women are equal to men, and in many cases they are better than men. A large part of the parts of the business that I handle are run by women, and the reason why I do that is because I have realized over the years working that they're better at multitasking. They are more particular about their work. I don't mean to be generalizing, but typically that's what I have noticed. And I prefer to work with women, and this has been right since my job days and the previous companies that I have. They just take more responsibility. And for investment firms, for example, it would be a long-term goal to be having equal investments in men and women. So let's say, for example, they wanted to commit to by 2030 having equal investments in women and men entrepreneurs. Those long-term goals have had to be put on a standstill because you have to focus on the more short-term goals of surviving. And survival is by investing in companies that are in sectors that would be doing well currently, which,
Right.
for example, is e-commerce, delivery apps, grocery, medical, home delivery of medicines, and this is logistics, customer support, work management tools like Asana, Slack, etc. These are the kind of industries that are thriving. Zoom, you can see that Google set up the meeting and made it so easy for you to start a meeting. So these are the places that are thriving. So the investments are not going to be gender based. It would be more industry based, I would feel like.
Okay, so Shan, would you like to jump in here? Because I think in the last downturn, the numbers show that women did in fact take longer to resume their businesses and careers, and that's probably going to be the case now as well. Do you think that that's going to widen the existing investor biases and kind of slow down investment in these particular women-led enterprises?
Yeah, definitely it's more difficult. I agree with Amtosh when he says I don't think it's gender based, but more like what industry is doing well. But just to share an experience that I attended like a women entrepreneur conference, which was building your brand. And this I'm talking like 8 or 10 months ago. And so the last round was with investors, and the first thing that the investor told me was you should get a male co-founder. And I was like, why? Why do I need one? He's like, because tech. Fine, I agree. I need someone really good in tech, but that doesn't have to be a man. That doesn't. Why do you have to tell me that he has to be a man? So I was pretty shocked. I was like, firstly, we're here to learn. Secondly, the second thing, the last thing on my last day of my presentation is you tell me you need a man to come in as your co-founder. And then he says, so this is a very big thing when you're looking at investment. They always say, don't get into business with your husband because it's very tough to get investors, because their chances the marriage will split up and then the man will run away with the business. This is actually the stuff they say.
Yeah.
The second thing is, if there are 2 female co-founders, very tough to get investment because chances are that business won't, do well. So, but even though I think that, I was shocked that this man could actually sit across the table and tell me these 3 things. And I was like, which world do you live in? But I have to say there are a lot of investors coming up with, investments for women-led businesses. Times are changing. But I still think in this aspect, I'm still very much on the thing that they want to see a man on the head of the company. I don't think that 2 women leading a company will get all the investment they can. Yes, there have been chances and there have been instances where there have been women-led companies, but still they want to see a man behind it. They want to see a co-founder. Maybe he's not the lead and taking the front of it, but very often they want to see him on paper.
Right, and why do you think, Liz, that persists, that kind of attitude where, of course, Shan did, of course, shed some light on it, but is it just with the understanding that everything that involves tech, coding, labor, it just is synonymous with a man?
I have to say it's true. And I'm not even going to lie and say that, no, but this is what people think. Even when I speak to employees and, the labor side of things, I fully understand, okay? Because, we live in a country like India. There are no safety measures. We don't even use hard hats or high-vis vests. And I actually come from the manufacturing, labor-intensive recruitment. So I know that we don't really have those protocols in place in terms of health and safety and stuff that we actually manage. So it's okay if you don't want to get a woman into that kind of environment. I understand that. But it is true that every time I speak to someone about maybe like a data analyst job, or you know, a tech related job, or a coder's job, website developer. It's something really simple, you know. And I think the first person that they imagine in that role is a male candidate. And I don't know, I mean, maybe Ankush can shed some light on this. And you know, sometimes I just have to be like, okay, if that's what you want. But at the end of the day, it is my job, like Ankush said, as an HR person, you know, and having as an expert, if I'm the expert in the room, then I think it's my job to sort of shed light that we need to focus on the skills that this person is going to bring in and the value add. But yeah, it does happen quite a bit. But I'm also with Shan about the co-founders being women, and if there are 2 or 3 women, then a lot of investors or people just think that, you know, they're going to get married or have kids, or they're not going to take this too seriously, or they think it's a passion project on the side. And I've heard that a lot of times, that, you know, this is a passion project for her. And because also women get into businesses like maybe, you know, nice designer jewelry, or like a nice boutique, or like designer clothes, right? And a lot of people think, well,
Nice things.
what?
Nice things, I said.
Nice things.
Yeah.
Pretty things, stationery.
Easy things.
Yeah.
Okay.
And a lot of people, I think that there's, you know, that's not going to take you a lot to run that kind of business, which is not true. I mean, obviously.
You know, just to like, just we have a lot of responses coming in, so please everybody type in your questions. But somebody over here making a fabulous point, and I think Gulnar, maybe if you know you'd like to.
I really want to add something here.
Yeah,
So,
go ahead.
So sorry to cut you off, but okay, so I run a brand management firm called #Marketing, and it's almost going to be 10 years now. And we work with 350 plus brands, and it's my brainchild, if I proudly may say so. But I've always had my brother as my partner. And today, post-marriage, I have my husband as my partner for ad films, where we are just adding in different wings to see how creatively we can, as a family, work together and provide the best to the outside clients. Now, when I was getting married, this is even way before the pandemic, out of 30 clients, you won't believe it, in the 4 months leading up to my marriage, I lost 21 of them. And each one turned around and said, ki, abhi to aapki shaadi ho rahi hai. हम 1 साल बाद बात करेंगे. And the reason why I'm saying this in Hindi is because these were their exact words. So I used to get really boiled up and angry, and I've been practicing Nichiren Daishonin's Buddhism, chanting away, and then I got so deep into the whole spiritual aspect of it, because somewhere I thought there's a masculine energy more in me than a feminine energy. And I would keep battling that. And in Ayurveda, surprisingly, they say that if a woman has more of a masculine energy, which is on a rise, that's when we have our maximum period cramps. Because women also have that gentle, nurturing energy, but because we are battling with all our jobs, doing everything, so even your allergies, I'll give you something post this conversation, Sanjana, but it's surprising with the way people would talk with or without a pandemic. And now a pandemic has hit us. It's not checking whether you're rich or poor, male or female. It's attacking everyone the same way. So I don't understand why people can't get a basic concept of just living that equal life. If a woman can, you know, work and nurture, provide and nurture, sorry, we call our men our providers. But if we can blur those lines and, you know, multitask, manage it so well, why can't men do the same? In fact, post 2 years, I had a lot of those clients call me back also that, you know, we'd like to rehire your company. But there was so much anger filled in me that I said, you know, go to hell. Like, we don't need people like this. If you're not going to support or, you know, come up with taboos like abhi shaadi ho rahi hai, then bacha bhi ho gaya. You know, but today all of my clients, in fact, primarily, yes, it's in the pharmaceutical industry, because given the COVID times, that's the only industry which needs to kind of stand still and also do their marketing exercises to tell them the, you know, various ways in which they can help out. So even in the pharmaceutical industry, in fact, we have one of our hospitals from Visakhapatnam, and the founders live all the way in the UK. There's not been a single Zoom meeting of mine where her kid has not come into the frame or my kid has not come into the frame, but there is that mutual respect. And she is an owner of a hospital, the largest corporate hospital in the southern state, living in the UK and running the show and doing the best that she can. It is a service to humanity. It is not about that I'm a man and because हमको investors ज़्यादा मिलेंगे. All of that I've heard. Get your husband involved. People will take you more seriously. Before that, it was get your brother involved. People will take you more seriously. I've gone for meetings with them, not taking me seriously. I've had to tie my hair, look more serious because this is all glam, right?
Yeah.
What are we trying to do? Our hair, for a woman, her hair and a little bit of mascara is all glam. So is she actually going to deliver? But that's why, so you had to kind of adorn various methods to tell people that you talk shop with me. And I think if a man can look all, they don't even shave, or even if it is a grizzly thing, whatever it may be, you can take any thing they say seriously. But if a woman comes all, I mean, all of us are beautiful on the screen right now. Sanu also, I'm sure like, it'll be more about what content is she speaking. Am I looking and admiring her, and am I actually listening to her? So I think that...
Sorry, when you're done.
Please. No, please, I'm done.
I want to actually add one thing here. So 2 things, I've been really thinking about in this lockdown. One is 2 of my closest friends delivered a baby just during this time. And, it was so lovely to see their husbands in cut. So my friend, she's obsessed with her work, and she was like, I'm carrying my laptop to the hospital. And her husband was like, are you mad? You're not going to get a chance. And she's like, no, I'm definitely going to start working. She did it. He encouraged her. He pushed her. It's happened. She went back home and she's working 3 days after delivering. So I think that they live alone. They live with no staff. Now the baby maid has been allowed. But the point is, I think that men are changing. I don't think it's like Amtosh said, it's not generalizing them. I think that unfortunately, it's the conditioning. It's like, the mother's been like, eat, you sit, I'll bring it. But I still think that we have to give credit to a lot of moms who've done it differently, led by example, and there are a lot of men out there who are also doing it equally. The second thing I want to say is, in this lockdown, I've seen a lot of sons, a lot of husbands who are appreciating their wives, and I don't mean this in any other way. I'm talking about like women who've always cooked well, women who've always made amazing food. I can see I was telling Sanjana this just before, I'm on so many group chats because of this lockdown now and the kind of business I'm in. And the number of men that have encouraged their wives, mothers, to start doing home chef kind of businesses. And I think that is lovely. I think that is another positive that will come out of this, is that every woman that's probably sat at home and not done anything till now gets a chance. So maybe let's look at that also as a positive. And I think there are men that are also pushing the women to, go further and really try.
Okay, I'm going to step in here because I'm quite unabashed if anybody needed a reminder of that, because I'm quite unabashed in the way of saying that I'm sorry, boss, I'm not going to take an egalitarian view of this entire thing, because I really feel that men need to step up their game, and I'm not generalizing here. I'm saying it across the board.
I feel like Amtosh may have his network.
No, and disappear for men here and all of that. None of that. But very interesting point. And to all everybody who's tuned in right now, please continue asking questions. This is important stuff that we're talking about. It will definitely, rather hopefully, open your minds, and more importantly, make a lot of women feel that, look, we're here, we understand your struggle, we're all trying to get ahead. Amtosh, the name isn't up here, but very, very pertinent point. I agree with this entirely, where they say that egalitarian treatment of men and women doesn't work. Men and women do not currently stand on an equal footing. So providing half the space to forward the agenda for men is only giving them more of a rope after all of this patriarchy. So any affirmative action has to go towards women. So do you think that this is true? Because it obviously now is unfortunately going to mean that a lot of women have to drop out of their careers, have to drop out of their jobs, or take a back seat. So this is already adding to the detrimental impact of the economic recession, which unfortunately has been termed as a she-cession in some parts of the world.
Why would you say that it would be important for women to be taking a backseat in their career? And also when Gulnar said also...
I'm saying that it's happening right now because a lot of times it is kind of assumed, even in a heterosexual relationship, where women more often than not, and Liz will perhaps attest to this, where women earn lower than the man. So it is assumed that they are the ones who probably have to do, more of the unpaid care work as opposed to their male counterparts or their husbands or their boyfriends.
Right. So, and what you're saying is that if a choice had to be made about one person sacrificing their career, it would be the woman because she was making,
That's right.
less money.
That's right.
Well, I mean, at the moment, the way that the world is shaped internationally and in India, it's unfortunately the case that there is a salary divide between men and women. It's up to companies, educated company owners between men and women to bring those salaries up to par and pay not according to gender, but pay according to what a person brings to the table. I'm proud to say that I'm very proud that we do not take gender into consideration at all. While it is important for men to understand that they need to take an equal share of workload in the house, women need to speak up and put their foot down as well, because when men have been at home now, that has been, if for housewives, for example, when they wait for their husband to leave the home, for example, so that they can have that space to themselves, that was their me time, in addition to managing the house, which is a full-time job. Having been at home for the last 4 months, and I've asked my mom so many times before, why don't you do it like this? Why don't you do it like that? And being here at home for the last 4 months has made me realize how hard it is to run a home. So if a woman is running a home and a man is doing the job, and that is the equation that they have, so be it. There should be equal respect, because running a home is no easy task. And if there are men and women who are sharing the workload, men should be stepping up to the plate to be doing that. And women, if the man is not doing that and they are educated, and hopefully if they're watching this panel and they're not doing that yet, put your foot down. This is the time to be doing it. You have to put your foot down and say that it's not fair, not keep doing it, because it's also how you've been conditioned. And it's unfortunate that, I mean, now on Netflix, there was this show which just shows you how deep this conditioning goes. And these are modern families, well-traveled families, educated families, people with access to the internet and information who still think in that way. So somebody in the family, whether the man, the woman, the parent, the kid, has to step up and put their foot down to help educate their immediate and larger family to start treating people equally. And that's really important.
Ankush, I'm really glad that you made that point, particularly about your organization, because that does not hold true for a lot of big groups and a lot of big companies. That still till date there is such a deep gap. Go ahead.
Sanjana, sorry, I forgot to say this earlier, that when Shan was talking about the interaction that she had with the investors, it brought a point to my head that I wanted to table here, just as it's shocking. When it came to my mind, it was shocking as well. I have interacted in the last 7 or 8 years with, maybe I've done 50 or 60 meetings with funds, VCs, investors. You know how many women were in those meetings? In totality, I thought about it the whole time that you guys were talking. In totality, 2.
Damn.
2. One was my boss, who was, one was my boss, and the other was one of the people who worked at the funds end. That's it. 2 people that were women from all those funds. So if you come back to think about why their mentality is about having a man founder or a man co-founder, it's probably because they are all men in the industry. So maybe it's time to set up funds by women for women and focus on that. And, maybe that'll help over the years bring that disparity to an equal level.
I think Sanjana's frozen.
Okay, I thought she was just looking at her phone and ignoring me.
No.
It's stunned. I'm
I
stunned.
think it will get connected.
Business
back.
No, I'm saying it's very interesting that Ankush actually made that point, because we have businesses owned by women entrepreneurs that have been negatively impacted. Many of them have ceased operations in India. And the numbers, once again, are extremely staggering. There's 8% of women-owned enterprises that are registered in India. Only 20% of these were earning more than 5,000 rupees a month. That's really nothing. And it is unlikely that any of these would have benefited from any of the collateral-free loans under this government's economic stimulus measures for MSMEs. So perhaps that's something that we also need to have a look at. I have a question coming in from Anchal. Hi, Anchal. Thanks so much for joining. Liz, I think you'd like to feel this. She essentially is asking some tough questions, like all of us women should do at this point. what measures are corporates taking to accommodate the increased pressure on women during this pandemic and the new normal? I hate that word. And she says that she works for a large tech company and she's seeing absolutely no conversation around this.
That's very sad. I mean, get a new HR person, number one. Call me. Number two, Sanjana, I think a lot of people assume, like, as a recruiter right now, I probably have no work because everyone's thinking, who's hiring at this time. But to be honest, I think a lot of people, like, I have a lot of clients like Amtosh, like a lot of small to medium-sized business, a lot of startups, FMCG brands, essential goods, e-commerce. Those are the verticals that we primarily work in. So a lot of people think that, who's going to be hiring right now. But the truth is that a lot of people have realized, a lot of business owners have realized that while we started working from home, there's been a lot more pressure on people. So what's happened is they have increased the strength of their team, understanding that, productivity has definitely dropped because this is not a stage of just normal work from home, right? This is a work from home where you don't have help at home to do other things. Had this been a normal work from home sort of policy that you have with your, employees before the pandemic, where they have maybe 2 or 3 days during the week where they can opt to work from home, it would be different. You'd still expect the same kind of productivity. But right now, productivity has dropped because, first of all, it hit us from nowhere, right? I mean, a lot of us knew what's going on, but no one really knew that was going to have that kind of impact. I think people were not prepared with basic things like, internet connections, laptops. I still talk to people and, there's this meme that I see going around constantly. The two most common things that are said is, we can't hear you or am I audible? And the second one is leave the call and come back because that is what we're dealing with. So every meeting, I think there's like at least 15 minutes of this happening, and every meeting that could have been a call, that could have been a text, has now become a video call, right? So productivity has definitely dropped, but a lot of people have recognized that and obviously added a lot of more people to their teams to sort of overcome that. I don't know what company she's talking about, but I think this is something that also needs to come, front end. I think a lot of times employees are constantly waiting for management to come up with, decisions. Guys, I want to be very honest, okay? At the end of the day, a business is there to make money. The only way to make money is to keep your costs low and increase your revenue. So if you don't go and tell your management about it, if you're not talking to your immediate manager or your HR that this is a problem, nobody really has a crystal ball. Sometimes I feel like people expect me to have one, but nobody has it. So talk to your immediate manager, talk to your HR, tell them that, I was working 8 hours before and I was okay with taking some work home. However, now I'm unable to because there are these, 2 or 3 hours a day that I have to do all of this, and it's happening to everyone. Yeah. I would be very surprised if a business owner or your HR person turns around and says, take it or leave it. This is part of the job, because then they're not going to be able to hire anyone during this time, right? So I would also say that, you need to sort of speak to people as well. Again, reinforcing what Amtosh said as well. I think you need to speak up, and say something about it.
So, I also feel, and somebody is rightly saying in the comments, I'm sorry that you feel that way, where we'll try and change the conversation, where she makes a very, I'm guessing, or he makes a very good point, saying that this webinar is turning into a capitalist forwarding agenda, placing burdens on women and employees to demand humans working and living conditions, which perhaps is a conversation that perhaps we also need to have about how businesses, how organizations, how companies, bosses need to actually be good people and take care of, women, take care of the employees. So Gulnar, she also talks about placing the burdens of being a mommy, a worker, businesswoman and wife, and doing it all excellently. And this is obviously forwarding the narrative that ideal women are supposed to do it all. And this whole multitasking thing is exactly what has led to the saturation of most women. So this is not something that we need to be glorifying. Like Amtosh said, we should all be like, hey man, go and wash your plate, or like get up and do something.
No, in fact, I'm very grateful for to Amitosh, in fact, to especially bring this up because this is his realization, wherein he's realized how much workload there is even on the home front. So it's the conditioning, and I just want to drive home 2 points over here because with the entire pandemic and the lockdown, the realizations in conversation that I've been having with everybody, because it's been a very heart-to-heart talk wherein we're trying to find solutions. How does the whole family come together and work? See, it's not just about the husbands stepping in, it is also your grandparents, your parents, your siblings, your kids. So we have to actually have a very comprehensive look at the entire approach over here that we want to make for helping out when we're all trying to survive. It's, people are getting laid off. We don't know what the situation is going to be in terms of hiring, because I myself had started hiring because I realized I was unable to manage a lot of work, homeschooling my toddler, managing the home front, going into the kitchen to help out my mother-in-law, with my father-in-law and my husband. Like, I'm talking about each and every family member living in this house. So it is, the most important thing is the realization. And if a 70-year-old man could just observe his wife for 3 months cooking and cleaning in the kitchen and then help out, I think that realization came in with her not expecting anything and with her just going about taking responsibility. So till a man doesn't take complete responsibility of providing and nurturing, something that they can expect a woman to nurture and provide, whatever little she may. We've been going on about our salary structure, and yes, women in most households, they may not earn as much as the man, but even if they were earning more than the man, and I can assure you in many cases I know that the responsibility is still the same. The child is going to be handled by the mother because wo maa hai. And also she is going to run the house. She is going to know what's happening in the kitchen because that's the way the conditioning has been done. So it's not that she is earning lesser, so she needs to do more. Even if she was earning more, she would have still been expected to do all of these things. So I think the realization factor, especially for the youth, especially for our generation, and this entire conversation and discussion that we're having, I truly hope it rings a bell in everyone's minds, because it's about you realizing that it is your responsibility too. And it's not just the responsibility based on a gender. If that be the case, then including, I know a lot of, women who have also thrown fits that where is the staff? For all of the so-called, men who are providing and giving their wives enough package, to do their shopping and to hire whoever, as many nannies as possible. But nobody showed up for work, right? During the pandemic, it was a lockdown. Everybody was just staying at home. How many people got laid off? So the question is not about providing. It's also about you taking that responsibility and realizing that you need to do it. So I think there are a lot of comments coming in. I think it's from the fellow mommies who are realizing the workload, and we completely understand. But I think the solutions lie in a family discussion. If you're unable to have a family discussion, please just let it be based on them realizing on their own, because you can't be that nagging wife again. So I'm truly hoping that time management is something that everybody adopts, multitasking, and maybe splitting up the responsibilities. I've had a lot of fathers step in and these certain experiences, because for me it wasn't just our age group realizing and cleaning the dishes. For me, the biggest experience was this really elderly senior citizen realizing how much work his wife is doing. And that is years and years of conditioning of them just sitting on the couch and drinking their chai, and diet change ho raha hai, like we've been talking about it. Somebody wants to suddenly work out, you'll go on to a gazillion diets. Yeah, sometimes you just want salads and soups, but then you have to make dal and rice for your child to eat. So you can't have a different menu for the father and a different menu for the child. The woman's going to go mad handling that. So if you want that salad and soup, please go and make it yourself. It's as simple as that.
Okay. Now let me quickly do a roundup, because our comment section.
Can I just want to clarify something before we move on. Because there was a comment about, okay, when I said, go and talk to your HR person or your manager, I'm not saying that is your responsibility, but I think a workforce should have open conversation, right? We always expect this open door policy is something that we love when we're taking up a job. So when I said that, what I mean to say is, have those conversations, tell people that you need extra resources and stuff like that. Yeah, you're absolutely right. I think a good boss or HR should be able to pick that up themselves with a little bit of, planning ahead. But it's not a problem to sort of address those issues, is what we're saying. We're not saying that it is your problem or it's your sort of prerogative or it's your job or it's part of your KRAs. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying like an open dialogue can help resolve these issues.
Okay.
I'd like to say something as well, Sanjana.
Yeah, please
Sorry.
go ahead.
So I feel like at times what happens is on social media, which is where a lot of us consume information, on panels like this, especially in the digital space, a lot of people sitting behind a screen with strong opinions, without having been in that position themselves. I'll give you an example here. Like I said earlier, have been brought up by a mother. I have utmost respect for women. And as my company has grown, I have never viewed it as men and women not being equal. Though they are not equal in the world, I acknowledge that. In my company, my life, they have always been equal. So when I have grown my company, I have never hired on the basis of gender. I have never had a salary disparity on the basis of gender. So when I speak of my point of view, I view them as equals. If you want me to speak on a world point of view, yes, they are not equal and they should be equal. So that's one thing. And the second thing is, if I was not from this kind of background of having a single mother bringing me up, maybe today I wouldn't be this person, right? And if I wasn't this person and I was not hiring women in senior positions, or I did not have a HR consultant who was a woman, at some point I would have to change, right? So that is up to me and my responsibility as a human being.
But I think the point that we're also trying to make over here is that perhaps now we need to start hiring basis gender. I know for a fact.
Agreed.
When I go out and I am looking for women, I'm looking for producers, directors, and editors. I ensure that they are women. I make it a point to say,
I agree, you should.
Women. I want them. And I think that's all what we need to do right now. So that's what I'm trying to understand over here is that, and even this thing, Liz, just to understand, a lot of companies don't encourage this open dialogue because it is going to be viewed. I know for a fact that I, for the longest time, was scared that I could not go up to my editor and talk about my issues because I would be viewed as weak, as being cranky, as, oh, she probably has her period, oh, she's probably this. So, those opportunities are not there for open dialogue. And I see those problems becoming even worse right now. So I think that maybe companies need to have better policies and now change the paradigm and make it that, okay, we are going to look out for women, understanding that not all women have the same opportunities as men.
That's true, yeah.
Speaking from a completely entitled point, as all of us are, and not because none of us have had, unfortunately, the kind of struggles that people have gone through. So this is something that we need to really consider. And okay, we're getting a lot of
one thing, Sanjana. Actually,
questions. Yeah, go ahead.
I wanted to say one thing. Basically, my team is a team of 8 girls, and they're all women. They're all married. 3 of them have children. I'm single. I'm unmarried. But not once have I heard from them. They won't complete the work. Whether they're looking after their children, they may not reply immediately. I think that it has to start with us. I think like Kamtosh made a very valid point. Sitting and making comments isn't going to help anyone. Sitting across a screen and listening to things and thinking that you made your comment and then you're making your point. But I think that if you own a company or you work somewhere, so like Liz said, I mean, you can't really depend only on the HR. I think that it has to, even if you have that viewpoint, I think you need to bring it up. And I think any boss would be willing to listen at this point. Today, times are changing. And like you said, Sanjana, maybe like for me, till today I've not realized that I actually go out and only hire women, but maybe I just only hire women. And they come via referral of my team right now, but I don't, all the people that I work with freelance are men. Just happens like that. It's not like I go out and be like, I only want women, but I think that the change starts from us. And if we don't make that change and start talking about it with our teams, tomorrow my girls have had 3 children while they're with me. They've gotten married while they're back at work the next week. But that's probably because they're happy in the job. You know, they're happy. They don't want to go. And I know that they contribute this salary towards their homes. This job is important to them. It's essential. But if we don't take that step, and I think that instead of just making comments, it's better to actually be that change.
Correct.
And make it known in wherever you're working.
Okay. Tosh and the rest, Amrita is saying, I'm not behind the screen trying to troll you. My name is Amrita.
I never meant troll. I never meant
troll for time. She's called us capitalist of
I was only trying to viewpoint of it's a business owner, equally responsibility of the HR and everyone's responsibility, like Shan said, to if a person is not realizing it themselves because of their life circumstance, because of their conditioning, and you have realized that, make it a point to make your voice heard, have a conversation, start the conversation, be the one who starts it in the company, point it out, say it to the boss, say it to the HR, start the conversation. You can't, I mean, in an ideal world, yes, every business owner should treat people equally, every human being should treat people equally, but we're not in an ideal world. So if you have had the realization that you're being treated unfairly based on your gender, color, caste, whatever it may be,
bring it up.
And your employer's not realizing that, bring it to the attention of the HR.
Yeah, I agree. But I also feel like she's making a very valid point in the sense where it is now as a business owner or as an organization.
I agree to what you said.
I also want to say something about this.
100%, and it should be a requirement. Because there are business owners who don't do it currently, and where industries are male dominated because there is no sort of structuring on bridging the divide between men and women employees.
Yeah.
And it should become important for companies to have some sort of an equal percentage of men and women working for the company and no salary disparity.
Yes,
I think that is something that is important.
Shan, let me ask you this. Do you think that perhaps a good start would be at this point supporting women entrepreneurs with relevant training, providing access to flexible financing options, to help keep their businesses afloat are definitely good places to start?
Yeah, and Sanjana, like you mentioned earlier, there are a lot of avenues like that exist in the last 3 years. 3 years before this, I never saw programs especially for women entrepreneurs. In the last 3 years, I think it irritates me now how much there is out there for women entrepreneurs, because I'm like, why are you trying to be successful on this women entrepreneur word if you're not really going to back them and see them till their success? I think you can't just make a statement saying I'm backing a woman entrepreneur without really taking it up. But I also think that, yes, hiring women is the biggest thing. Training, like you mentioned, that's a very big thing, because like Google, you guys all mentioned Google, they all have daycare, they all have places where you can bring your child to work and still be in meetings, meet your child in the middle, still do the mommy job, still do your own job. But I still think that this should be, firstly, men should be doing that too. Why is there no dad's day at work? So take your child to work. Secondly, but that again, I don't know why, but I still feel, and Amrita, after reading your comments as well, I still feel that this is something that you have to start. So you could be, like Amtosh said, never experienced hardships and own your own company and successful, or starting out. But if you don't make that start, for example, all my 7 girls who work with me, one has just gone. So 7 who work with me, 3 of them have children. I've helped them invest. I do trainings for them once in 3 months. How you can balance your work. Any talk that I have with a life coach or something, I make sure that they are involved. It's not forceful, but I want you to be happy. If you're in a bad environment, if you can't manage your motherhood and you can't manage this, you will be frustrated and you will want to kill your husband, because at that point you are also contributing to the house. So I really think that this is, like Amrita said, she's starting the conversation today, and I think this is great. Start it with your friends, start it with your colleagues, get friends who are like-minded with you to start this. Start it at work. I think that's really important. Do you have colleagues who are women who also feel the same way? Maybe someone's dying to speak out and hasn't yet, but waiting for someone else to start the conversation, and that could be you. So I think that, and I really think that there are a lot of startups. Look, Amtosh is a director in his company, and I've worked with him so often. Very receptive. Go into his office, if somebody feels it, start the conversation. He's not going to be like, listen, I don't think this is going to happen. Even if he doesn't agree, it can be a debate. It can you're at least sparking something that somebody else couldn't talk about.
And you can revisit it after a few months, maybe someone, and also to talk about this, Sanjana, all these points are really valid. but all of this costs money as well, right? I have to say something. I mean, I'm as an HR person, I'm always, stuck between an employee and an employer constantly, where they're both like screaming in my ear about what a bad person I am, like constantly. But at the end of the day, all of this costs money as well, and you need to sort of find some common ground in terms of what some companies can do and what some companies can't do. And if you, as a woman, any employee, if you feel like that place doesn't sort of satisfy some things that you really need.
Interventions that are gender.
Sorry, I didn't hear that at all.
Interventions that are gender responsive. Do those things cost money as well? To be able to sit and understand and have somebody, in addition to considering gender norms, but more importantly, collaborating with experts in the field, to work towards this, or to have a town hall.
Yeah, 100%. And so I also do a lot of HR consulting work with a lot of my clients, and it's my job to sort of tell people who are running businesses that this is something that you can do. It's not going to cost you a lot of money. Do town halls. I love town halls. They're amazing. Do a brainstorming session. Do employee engagement. Even if it's getting a friend of yours that teaches yoga, to do it once in a month, maybe just do like a baking class, or like, just to bring everybody together. And like Shan said, people come into work and they may be so frustrated about small little things. Their chairs are bad. Do you know this? This is the thing. Like, people hate the chairs that they sit on, or they feel like their desk is very cramped up, and all of these things. And I hear this. Like, I have people who start a job and they want to leave after 5 days because they're like, I don't like the office space. And someone asked about not having a bathroom. This is one of the reasons why people leave jobs as well, because the bathroom is a shared space. And I really have to say this today. If you feel like the conditions of a company, what they're offering, and you should know all of this while you're interviewing with the company or the brand, you should also put in the work to research or ask those questions during the interviews, right? And if you feel like that is something that's not really meeting your priority list, or you're not satisfied with it, do not take up the job, number one. But obviously you can give your opinions and say, hey, this is the reason why I didn't take up this job. If you could change that, maybe you could attract better talent. And I have to conclude by this. I really recommend every business owner, before you start a business, I always tell them, please do like people management course, or like a little HR certification or something, just so that you know how people need to be treated while they're at work. Because I feel like a lot of entrepreneurs start a business because they can do something really well and they're very good at that, but they forget about the whole people management, or just hire me.
Yeah. Sanjana, sorry, on the point of bathrooms, I have a real practical example that happened with me. And coming back to what I was saying about sometimes a man wouldn't realize, and why it's important to have women in positions where they could help you see from another point of view, because you may not see from that point of view naturally. For the bathroom, for example, as a business owner, when I moved into my office space, I had one bathroom, about 8 staff. And to me, it was fine that the women and men were sharing a bathroom, but the truth of the matter is men make a mess. I had a second bathroom in this space and it was not fine. I would have to redo it. I would have to spend about, 50, 80,000 rupees to do it. And as a business owner, I couldn't afford it at that point. I was looking at it as 50, 80,000 rupees rather invested in marketing to get a few more customers or to get a few more orders or whatever. My person who was handling my marketing then told me specifically that look at the state of the bathroom at the end of the day for you to understand why women can't be using this bathroom. And that's when I realized, what am I doing? We have to separate the bathrooms into men and women, because unfortunately, and I apologize for generalizing again, men's bathrooms are way more messier than women's. So yeah, sorry. On the bathroom part, we can move on.
Bathroom is, so Amrita says bathroom is just an example.
Yeah, no, but yeah, I think, yeah, and rightly so. So if it's okay with you guys, I'm just going to take some other questions as well that we're getting.
I'm really scared now.
Yeah. No, don't be scared. It's all part of learning. We're all learning.
I saw Sanjana getting into a bit of an aggressive mood for a bit and then...
Sanjana.
So, somebody said they're an anonymous attendee. Hi, thanks for joining. Have you heard of situations where the women are sole breadwinners and the man is either a house husband or is unemployed or laid off due to the pandemic? I have heard of some men in those situations who have become more aggressive during these times where their ego has taken a huge hit. what is the muck you see surface up other than go 50-50 on house chores? Shan, I think you want to take
Yeah, I want to take this. One of my best friends, the wife was earning very well, and I'm talking about very well per month. The husband was in his family business. I'm talking about way before the pandemic, left the business, was at home. They had a dog, looked after the dog. They got married in the middle of this when he was not earning. Okay. Yes. Privileges were there. Parents had money. Let's not this thing. They got married, all that, lived together, paying rent. Wife doing really well. He was extremely respectful. He loved it. Things were normal. They could travel. They could do everything. But I agree with you. There was a point where he was aggressive. There was a point where he was not the most positive person. But you chose that, buddy. So why? I mean, it's not like she told you don't work, right? Now, wife lost her job. Both not working. Then what? Today you're stuck. Wife lost her job 2 months before the pandemic. Now you're stuck in a house, having expenses. How long is this money going to last you? Both unhappy. So I think that it's not about man and woman working. Yes, he was still very positive. But I think that if I could say this, men do not take if women are more successful than men, men don't take it very well. I don't know, Amtosh, what your views are. I'd love to hear it. But I know that if a woman is earning more than the man, very few men could actually be proud of it. I don't know what your view is, but yeah, I've seen the situation live and it was a bit of a disaster.
No.
I feel like the competitive, sorry, because you asked, I feel like the competitive person in me would want to be making the most. I'm just this kind of person. I want to be making the most money. I want to be the most successful. I want to have the best business. I want to have the most followers on Instagram. I just want to. I'm just really competitive. I feel like my initial reaction, to be completely honest here, I don't want to put up a fuss. To be completely honest, my initial reaction, if my partner or my best friend or my anyone, whether male or female, was making more than me, it would make me feel a bit like, shit, I need to be doing more because I can and I should. But if it was my partner who I was living with, maybe my wife, who was making more than me, I would, over a period of time, definitely learn how to be supportive rather than aggressive. And I would digest that fact and try to work harder to get to her level, basically.
Especially in times like this.
I think you acknowledge,
Yeah.
I think you acknowledge that you're competitive also, and I think that's great. But time respect.
Okay, Amrita, Amrita's talking about the bathrooms, but I'm really glad, Amrita, that you did in fact bring up the bathroom, because I worked for a news channel and I would go into work at 4 a.m. and the bathrooms were dismal. And a big part of why I changed my job was because this other channel had better bathrooms. And I'm supposed to say that is, so you don't
put it down in your exit interview.
No, I know that wasn't the context, but I'm still glad that she brought
it up. True, and it's fine. Yeah, it's absolutely fine to leave a job.
You can take the question. It's from Atul Lal. He says, my experience of working in the services industry shows male managers to be controlling and possessive, something that's probably putting eggs on their face in remote working environments like now. Have the women managers felt the same way?
What I didn't understand. Are the women managers feeling like they are more
Can I just add to something? I've been hearing everyone's conversation and also the views from Anonymous and Amrita. You guys should really go through a lot of the YouTube links from Indra Nui. Now, that's a woman who's on top of her game, and she speaks extremely well for coping mechanisms. So one is, of course, obviously what the companies are providing to you and how unhappy you could be, which, like, in fact, Liz has been mentioning again and again, initiate that conversation. The HR and the government, so to speak, can only do that much. For example, even with all of the lockdown measures, that was all that they could do. But the common sense would prevail that you need to stay safe, right? So right now with HR as well, there's only that much that they can provide. And it costs money to come up with all of their different schemes. I mean, I run a company, I have employees, and I understand, when my team members have gotten married, when they've gotten pregnant, and I've also seen the time lags. So it's not that I've, been, just because I'm a girl, I understand that, okay, as motherhood, you have responsibilities. But at the end of the day, we're also professionals. So Shan also mentioned over here, not once has she heard from her team that, I was busy with the baby. God forbid, I would never do that to a client because I wouldn't want anyone to take me non-professionally. So when you speak of being a professional, be that professional. When you speak of your personal life, figure out your coping mechanisms. All of us are in the same boat
But I
today.
think the point that we're trying to make over here is that perhaps organizations and companies should also make it okay for us to
Okay.
discuss
Yeah.
those things and to
True.
see that, okay, you don't need to be like the employee of the month and like do
Yeah,
this and
yeah.
that and
True.
everything and put this thing on the table and sulao your bacha and like, you know,
And
you
yeah,
don't have to do
we
that.
have that accountability, Sanjana. Like, you know, we've worked in large organizations, and here, even from an entrepreneur's point of view, there is accountability, there is responsibility, there is professionalism. If you are unhappy with the situation, initiate a conversation. It's the same kind of communication you would expect at home with your partner. So, you know, in fact, in Singapore, it was so strange. It was one of the strange news, pieces that I read, where the government was encouraging women to look pretty to reduce the domestic violence rates. So you realize how there's an external beauty that you're battling with. There's an internal push towards, you know, managing the entire household. There are also women who are working. We were all working in our pajamas. You know, so the government, the HR, everybody is going to have their point of view and do their bit. But it is you, at the end of the day, it is you. How happy or unhappy are you? How good are you at managing things?
But what I'm just trying to say over here is that even that placing the onus on the woman employee,
Yeah.
it's a very entitled point of view, right? Because the thing is, not everybody has that opportunity, and you know, you're so scared that, you know, you're going to perhaps keep aside a very nagging elephant in the room or a very glaring issue. And perhaps then, besides of course the onus, I do, while I also feel that there are some, I definitely need a lot of courage. I've noticed in a professional space, contrary to what you may guys actually believe, I definitely need a lot of courage in terms of speaking up and saying, no, I'm not okay with
Nah, I'm not okay
with that. But I also, you know, fear, you know, being viewed as weak or like a cranky woman. That is a big fear that I have. But
True.
I think what we need to do is that as organizations and all of us here in
some basics. Yeah.
that maybe, you know, as Liz as being part of HR needs to tell companies that, look, you need to look out for this. Amtosh perhaps needs to perhaps structure his company or like have a town hall of sorts. Shan maybe needs to do that. Gulnar also needs to do that, and perhaps, you know, understand what the issues are.
Yeah.
So in fact, I'm so sorry to cut you, but I really want to read this message out to everyone, because we understand the fear is the issue. So in fact, it's the last message also that we've received. This fear is the issue. Your efforts need to eliminate the fear, not pretending that they don't exist. Completely agree. We understand, but you know, these panels and these discussions, with all of us putting our minds to it, I'm truly hoping that there is an awareness that this particular discussion brings in. So this was us initiating that solution and that change for everyone. And I truly hope that our voices are heard today. So rest assured, whoever is suffering, Liz, take over now.
No, but that's great, Gulnar, because all of us have obviously over here putting in our time and putting in all our efforts and our knowledge and all our expertise together to initiate these conversations. So no, we're not turning a blind eye. None of us over here are turning the blind eye to what's going on. We all are very well of it. Are very well aware of it. I'll be very honest with you. These are conversations that I have with all of my clients constantly. There are issues, there are sort of roadblocks, there are hurdles. We're trying to jump them as business owners constantly with the limited funds and everything that we have. The bathroom situation is a great example and I love it. But what about all these buildings that have shared bathrooms? Are we saying nobody rent an office in that building? I mean, I don't know. But, you know, and why is it okay that some people of a certain sort of socioeconomic background are okay with that and some of us are not, you know? Can we actually say that every time you have an office space, you have to have a bathroom attached to it? Can that be a rule that we can create, you know? So if we're going to go to the really like nitty-gritties of everything, then we have to sort of see if these are the rules that we can start to, you know, put out in terms of infrastructures, in terms of government. Can we really do that? You know, I do understand that. And honestly speaking, guys, to some people, having a clean bathroom is not important. They just want a job that pays them that 15,000 rupees a month and they want to be in that job for 20, 25 years of their life. So there are two sides to everything. Everybody comes from a different sort of mentality, background, thinking, and all of this sort of needs to, be kept in mind with businesses who, like Amtosh said, as a business owner, we're paying, I don't know how many people know, we're just paying rent for the last 5 months and our offices are locked. So there are implications of having a business. And to say that, why should you start a business if you can't provide these basics? I mean, we are providing jobs, guys. I think at the end of the day, we need some kind of, at least some sort of credit.
But I think the point is that you can provide a job, but you can also be humane and understanding
Yeah, 100%. I mean, like I said, like I was saying, you treat people the way you want to be treated, and if that is standard.
I want to add one thing, which is most people leave jobs because of bad management and bad bosses.
100%.
That's just the basic. If you're not happy with the people,
now the onus needs to be on that, as instead of saying that the employees need to, because
exactly.
No, both ways. Sure.
Okay, so I think Liz Atul has offered a clarification where he said that my experience of working in the service industry showed male managers to be controlling and possessive, something that's probably putting eggs on their face in remote working environments like now. Have the women managers felt the same way, where he clarifies where the women feel that male managers are having trouble on remote working conditions as well?
Women are feeling that he wants to know the other side of the business. The gender.
I just want to add one thing before you take this. I think that the people who are commenting, I don't think Liz means that she have a bad bathroom because we're giving you money monthly. That's not what she meant. So I think they've taken this the wrong way. That's why I brought up the point that you have to so if you're not happy, like Sanjana was not happy, her bathroom was bad, talk about it. So you talk about it once, twice, they don't listen, switch your job, but make sure you say that in your exit letter. So I think this going on this topic, saying that, oh, so you're giving me a salary and a job, so I should stick around even if the bathroom.
Guys, come on. No.
Yeah, that's not what anyone meant. That is humanity, and that's just called being humane. And I think that, Sanjana, what we're talking about is also just like good management and being a good boss and a good leader can really help your team. So I'm going to again take Amtosh here because he's the only man on this panel, unfortunately. And if a girl comes to talk to you about listen, Amtosh, my bathroom sucks. The bathroom sucks. And we have our period and there's no place to, it's just not hygienic for me. You're not going to turn a blind eye and be like, this woman's irritating, only she's bringing it up. There's going to be a discussion. There's a reason she's had the courage to come and speak to you. So I think that it's the way it's done. And I think have the courage to go out and talk about it, whichever organization you're in.
Okay. Liz, do you want to take Atul's question and then we can quickly wind up, because I think we've over.
No, I'm still a bit confused. Is the question that are men also having difficulty with remote working like women are, or are female? Oh, okay, I get it. So are female managers also seeing men who are working from home having difficulties? Is that the question? I'm very confused.
1 second.
To answer this properly so that I say the right thing and I'm not picked up a little things that
yes, he says yes.
Okay, yeah. So I do feel, and me and Amtosh were just having this conversation the other day actually about work. I don't really think that it's men or women that are unproductive right now because they have other things. It is definitely a skills-based issue. Yes, women are having to juggle more at home because of work and housework. That's if they have their expectation of they have to do it alone. But no, there are some men who are also living by themselves, who have to cook, who have to clean. I have a lot of friends of mine who live by themselves, who also have to do all of that and don't have maids and they can't call for food from outside. Also, a lot of them have lost their jobs. So it is harder to keep ordering food from outside. It's an added expense. So yes, I think it goes a little bit both ways. I don't think it's only women that just because they have everything. I do think that men are also struggling with balancing everything, and they are also working long hours, especially the people that are living by themselves, who have to fend for themselves, cook and clean and do dishes or wash because they can't have help coming over. So I hope I answered your question. I don't think it's a male or female thing. I think it's just what's happening right now. And like Gulnar was saying, coping mechanisms are super important, just trying to organize. I don't know. I mean, I've told my mom that, I think it's okay if we don't mop the floors for one day, if we're all really busy on that day. It's really fine if the floors are not mopped. So this is something that you need to really discuss internally, what works for you and what doesn't. I'm not gonna sort of.
But really quickly, I think what we need to focus on right now is that companies making spaces that are gender inclusive. What's being discussed over here, I think clean bathrooms are important and people care about them, and it is extremely important, and you can't justify that just because somebody has a job or an earning or whatever, that they are not.
That's not what we meant.
To that. You need to have flexible working hours. You need to have discussions. You need to take women into consideration. And more importantly, going forward, when you hire, gender has to be a factor. This is something that we need to actually look at. So I'm sorry, we're completely out of time. But thank you to all our panelists, and thank you to everybody who very...
Sanjana's frozen again.
So while she's frozen, I want to add that to you guys, to all the panelists, really, really good job. Really, really good job, because this is the first panel I've ever been on where we've lost only 3 viewers from start to finish. It typically starts at 100 and ends up with 5. We started with about 23 or 24 and we are at 19 right now. So really well done. Obviously, we kept people inquisitive and with various opinions. So well done to us, and thank you everyone for asking the questions as well.
Yeah, thank you guys. I mean, these are really good questions. Even I think they were very interesting. And like I said, love to shed light on both aspects, always being the bad person in the middle. Fun.
Thank you. Thank you to all of you. Extremely well spoken, and the viewpoints. I'm glad that we're all on the same wavelength, and I truly hope everyone takes back a lot of solutions from this conversation.
Okay, thanks guys.
Thank you, Sanjana.
Thank you, Sanjana.
Bye, bye, bye.
Bye. Bye.